Hello and welcome to my full King's Indian repertoire from the black side. My name is Grandmaster Felix Blohberger. I'm from Austria. I've won the Austrian Championship, been a second for many top players in the past as well, and my rating is about 2500. And in this repertoire, I'm about to show you a full repertoire for the black side against basically anything but 1e4 on the first move. This is not covered in this repertoire since we will not be able to get the King's Indian there. But apart from that, basically anything is covered. You can even get many ideas out of this repertoire against moves like 1g3 or 1b3. However, our focus is going to be mostly on the move 1 knight f3, the move 1d4 of course, and also the move 1c4. What is lying ahead for us in this part 1? I've structured the repertoire that in part 1 we are mostly going to have a look at systems where white is developing without knight c3 and followed by e4. Those systems are covered in part 2. Those are more of the main systems or more of the main lines. However, in this part 1 we are looking at, for example, systems like the London system, which is also nowadays is basically a main line itself. We are also going to have a look at the Trompowsky, for example, the Jobava London after knight c3, d5 and bishop f4. And we are always aiming, as indicated here, for the kingside fianchetto with g6, bishop g7, followed by short castle. Another big part in this part 1 are the g3 setups. There are many different ones which white can get. Just as an example, for example, the Botvinnik triangle, quite a popular and solid defense for white, is covered, and of course the very classical g3 setup as well, if white develops like this. And here there is actually a small surprise waiting for you. I can already tell you about that. We are not going for the well-trodden paths with, for example, knight bd7 or knight c6 here, but my recommendation is to go for the very interesting but rare line with rook e8 followed by bishop d7, just completely sidestepping any theory whatsoever, aiming just to get a game early on. And in this repertoire, just to have a few words on that as well, I've aimed to make it as easily accessible, as easily memorizable as possible. Since the King's Indian is such a huge opening, you need to take care of many different move orders, understand them well, and it often gets quite overwhelming and also quite difficult to remember many of the lines. So therefore, especially with the sidelines, I try to make it as easily possible to learn and understand them, so that we don't need to spend too much time to try and memorize some long lines, but I try to make it more about understanding the positions and just to get a game, a playable game as early on as possible. I'd also like to speak on the King's Indian and my experience with it as well. I've learned the King's Indian when I was about 8 years old, and it has stayed one of like a core repertoire for me since then, because the interesting and nice thing in the King's Indian is that we can play it against everything on the first move, except for 1e4, which is not the case for other openings. For example, the Nimzo Indian, which you can get after d4, c4 and e6, followed by bishop e4. This is a very good opening, of course, but you cannot get it after if white goes for 1c4, because here, as we can see, if you can go for e6, then white has options like e4. And that's the nice thing about the King's Indian, that you don't need to worry about other first moves, like, for example, c4 or knight f3, trying to move order you, but you can just basically stick to your setup and get the positions which you want out of the opening. So I would like to thank you for purchasing this course and having the trust to look at those lines with me together. I hope you enjoy the following videos and the following ideas which I'm about to show in this repertoire, and I will see you in the following videos.